All right. Welcome back. Ask Coach Nate, episode number 18. Today, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, motivation. Um, I find it particularly interesting because I think to train long term, the most difficult thing to do is to stay motivated. Me and Nate were talking earlier how, like, nearly everybody's excited in the beginning. Everyone has a goal. Everybody wants to be in shape. Everybody wants to lose weight, but to get there and keep at it is a huge challenge. So Nate, why don't we talk about um, some of your clients and the challenges they face, and give them some tips about how they can break through, stay motivated, and achieve their goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that just in your intro, I was reminded of like how extra difficult it has been for a lot of people over the last year, because it's like a lot of people that do events, whether they're like races or charity rides or like centuries. It's like that kind of short-term carrot of like training for a thing that's next month has been limited or removed. But um, but we can still all, I don't know, keep at it and have fun doing it. So what we were talking about before we started was that sometimes I've had clients that reach out to me who are interested in coaching, and at the time they seem very excited to get going with more structured training or like more to reach for a higher level of fitness. And I've observed that I perceive there's an no correlation or maybe even an inverse correlation between people who are very excited and have a lot of feeling of motivation before they have gotten started, that they don't always end up following through long term, or it's more challenging to come up with just the right mix of like how to train in a way that's like fun for them and keeps them excited to the degree that they want to be. I feel like a lot of times people that just come into it like having made the decision that I'm training, I'm getting better, and I'm committed to that, and just like help me to do that well. Like those types of interactions almost always are much more consistent and fruitful in the long run, or that takes less effort to get that way. I feel like the need for a contingent feeling of motivation day to day is challenging. Um, but once people have like gotten into their routines and their habits, and they have things that they care about that are motivating them, and like however it is they frame it in their head, that they can keep that routine up, like there's a lot of momentum that gets established once you're past the first like month or two of training at all. Like if you're just starting out, or if you've gotten like a year or two into cycling or running, and you want to like take it to the next level, I think that creates a new level of discomfort, because you're like doing intervals, or you're like going longer and harder than you've previously gone. So that feels physically uncomfortable. And but once you get past that first month or two, then it's just like it's just who you are, and it's just what you're doing, and it's like easier to maintain that. Although you still want to come up with little carrots and like things that are exciting along the way.
Yeah, well, at a high level, like, I think everybody uh, is excited about the outcome of whatever it is they do, but very few people are willing to embrace the suck to get there, right?
Yeah.
So with training, right, everyone wants the outcome. They want to be fit. They want to be thin. They want to like feel good. But to be able to embrace the challenge, the difficulty, the discomfort that comes with it, I think is perhaps why people that are like very excited about the beginning are disappointed with the experience. You know, because you just, for me, like there's no magic bullet. uh, it's about embracing discomfort, and just getting present with that. I think if you talk to a lot of athletes and very successful people in general, they all will talk about that there was a lot of hard work involved. There's a lot of discomfort, and to do it consistently, you've got to find like the mental space to embrace that. So what are some tips, like how do you think people could embrace the suck?
Well, I think first off, like I love that kind of framing challenge, because if I get up and I'm trying to get on my bike, or like put on my running shoes or whatever, or like do some strength work, and I'm just focused on like, oh, like this is kind of lame, like I would rather just have a coffee and like look at Instagram, or like whatever it is, like that's more I guess like low energy and requires basically zero motivation to do. Like you have to be overcome this kind of tension that you have, where it's like, oh, like I'm going to go, push, and I'm going to be sore from doing strength work. I'm going to feel uncomfortable because I'm going to be riding and like pushing and what have you. And it might be cold out in the winter time or whatever it is. Like, I think just focusing on the discomfort is never going to be productive. Like there's very few people that are going to actually just thrive intrinsically on that. Like I think there are those people, and those people aren't going to be like looking for motivation because they're just like, oh, this sucks, I'm just going to go do it because it's great. um for those of you who don't know, you should go look up David Goggins because he's that person. But I think for most people it's like reframing that. It's like, I care about this thing, that's why I have this tension, because I like want to train, I want to go do a century, or I want to like race or like win races or like get a category upgrade, but it takes a lot of effort to do that. So there's this tension where it's like the thing that I want requires a lot of like discomfort to get there, and but the discomfort is the way that you get there. So like framing it in your head as though like embracing the physical discomfort of like doing threshold intervals and like pushing hard when you're already uncomfortable, like that can be pleasurable because you know that you're stressing your body in a way that's going to make it better, and you know that you're going to get the results that you want. And even just doing that, like regardless of what the outcome is, like a month from now or a year from now, like going out today and doing threshold intervals or doing like a long ride feels uncomfortable, but like that's already a thing that you accomplished, and I find very rewarding because it's like, oh, I did like a long ride and I feel achy afterwards because like my whole body is a little bit tired. And you can embrace that as like, oh, like that feels great, like I did this, I accomplished something that is valuable to me, and is making my body healthier, and is going to make my quality of life better in the long run. And it's going to reduce my chance of like all different types of diseases. And it's like, that's great. Like I had 4 hours of discomfort the whole last 4 hours of my long ride, but it was worthwhile, you know. And especially for people that race, it's like, well, clearly you have to be able and willing to be more in love with discomfort than all of your competition to be able to beat them.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, right? It's like embracing the process, embracing the discomfort, and then focusing on the outcome. I think your example of like racing, that's clearly what they do. They focus on the outcome. They want to be first. They want to be top 10. They want to get the upgrade, and they're just gonna do whatever it takes to get there. So clearly, like having goals too is really important, right? If your goal is not perhaps as clearly defined, that make it a little bit more challenging uh, to embrace the discomfort. Like we talked about the people who are like, I just want to be fit. I just want to be in shape. That might not be enough of a goal to embrace the amount of discomfort required to do that.
Yeah. I think sometimes there are maybe transition periods where it's okay not to have a goal, where it's like, oh, like I went through this season, I accomplished these goals, and then it's like going into the winter, or maybe for whatever reason you're in a transition and you're like switching sports, for example, like you've done cycling for a while, now you want to do triathlon or whatever it is. And that can be fine to have those transition moments, but it is good to have some sort of like intermediate to long-term goal that you're shooting for. And I think just going back a second to like when you were talking about racing and like people that are at the top of any sport or any activity that takes a lot of practice, it's like clearly, you know, Chris Froome trains 25 plus hours a week most of the year because he wants to go win the tour. But for those of us that can't do that, like why would I train 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week or 8 hours a week or whatever it is? It's like, well, I mean, there's only one person that can be the best. The other 8 billion of us can't be the best at that one thing, you know? So it's like, that's fine. Like, but if you want to be whatever exceptional version of yourself, that is already like an accomplishment, you know? And like a part of the accomplishment might be that you train 5 days a week, 50 weeks out of the year, and you just like identify as being somebody that is fit and active and, you know, loves to challenge themselves in that way, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. We talked earlier too, like some really obvious but easy things to employ, right? Like make your goals public, find great people to train with, find a great coach who you enjoy being around and working with, right? And the tip that I give people, perhaps that doesn't work for everyone, but I still think it's a great tip, is to like spend lavishly on it. If this is like going to be your health and fitness and about having great quality of life, like don't be afraid to invest what's required to get there. Doesn't mean you need the most expensive bike. And I know a lot of guys have an expensive bike that lies around, they don't ride. So it doesn't work. for everybody, but go to the best gym, like buy great fitness outfits and invest in the clothes and the materials that you need. For a lot of people that does work, right? It's the combination of like, hey, I made this financial investment, I want to take advantage of it. And like the more expensive equipment will make you feel better and feel more active, right? Like having a power meter took me a while to get one because I didn't want to make the investment pretty expensive. And I got one and it was really cool and I enjoy it and it made my training all the better.
Yeah, totally. I think being invested in ways other than just like a little bit of time could reinforce the time that you put into it. And I feel like I would add to that what I was just sharing when we were talking before. It's like you can buy like a really nice bike if that's going to be a trigger for you that you're like really excited to get on your very nice bike, whether that's like $3,000 or $13,000, because there's a very wide range of what
Wide
people
range.
regard as very nice. But like that could be really motivating. Or I've also worked with people that, have like an okay bike. It's like it was kind of nice like 5 or 10 years ago, but they bought it used. But it's like it works totally well, and you can get a lot of miles out of it, and it's totally awesome from a use value standpoint. But they would rather invest in like a power meter because it's going to enhance their training, or they want to invest in like a premium membership to Strava and like a cycling coach, for example, because that's going to be like a relationship with another human and a actual training plan that they like thrive on having, something that was designed for them that's going to like give them something to do every day or two to like go out with purpose when they're training. And I think that knowing yourself and knowing like what's going to be a good trigger for you can be really helpful, because it's like if I had a $500 cycling kit versus like a $250 cycling kit, like I personally don't care unless it's really just like unless one of them is uncomfortable. Like I'd rather have a cheap cycling kit if it's comfortable than just like show off that I have this like a certain brand of apparel. But whatever it is that's going to like trigger you to be excited about doing it, or trigger you to keep doing it, is going to be good. And like, yeah, monetary investment, like time investment, social investment, like if you have training partners, that is maybe a little bit challenging right now for some people. But if you have people that you ride with on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays or something like that, it's like you just have to go riding with them because those are your riding buddies. Or if you have like a long run, like Sunday, club run with your local running club, like that can be great for a lot of people. And a lot of times just once a week is like sufficient, because if you're going to go out and do a long ride on Sunday or Saturday with a group or a club, like you have to be fit enough to do it. So it's not like you can just do the weekend ride. Like you have to do other rides to contribute to your fitness so that you're fit enough to do the weekend ride and have fun doing it, instead of getting dropped or like not having fun doing it. But yeah, it's totally like really crucial to be invested. And there's even things like if you are of a certain mindset, like you can also find tools online where you can donate to charities, as a part of like a charity drive that you want to do. And like you can go to a Century and like donate money to a charity that you care about, or you can find a charity that you hate and donate money and have a trigger that like you can prevent that money from going to them if you like ride every day, or like if you accomplish your goals, like your money won't go to this charity that you hate. It's actually like an effective tool for some people. Have you heard of that, Gregory?
Wait, I don't understand. You
So
don't.
like if I hate the NRA, I can commit, like I can give people my credit card number to give them like $500 or whatever it is at the end of the year, like if I don't
Oh,
trigger something to prevent that from
it's a
happening.
penalty.
Yeah. So it's like
Got
if I
it.
don't ride 200 days this year, or like do 5,000 miles of training or 10,000 or whatever it is, like I will be shooting myself in the foot by giving money to something that I hate.
Right. If you don't do it, then you're gonna pay the price.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, like whatever works, right? Like, and clearly, like charities or doing it for other people is great. Like, I think that sometimes there's a stigma with people that are really focused on their health and fitness, that they're vain, that they're selfish, that they're self-absorbed, right? And I don't actually buy any of that, but I do think it makes sense for a lot of people because that's given the popularity of charities and like participating with other people. A lot of people seem to want to move beyond that and like do it because they're helping other people, they're helping their family, they're contributing to a cause. And if that works, like that's great. Like I think that's absolutely a big part of sports. You see sports associated with charities all the time, and that's one of the really fantastic things about it.
Yeah, and I think even for people that maybe don't have the means to make sizable donations to whatever charities, or that's not something that particularly gets them excited. Like for a lot of people, just like being healthy and fit for their kids, so that they can like hang out and like play sports with them when they're 50 and their kids, in high school, or that they can just be like more energetic and more resilient physically to like be a good partner or be a good school teacher or like a good nurse. Like I can't imagine how hard it would be to like be a doctor and do 12-hour shifts if you weren't physically fit and like training. Cause like I would just feel so terrible, like standing all day, walking around all day and doing these like really long shifts, interacting with a bunch of people, having to deal with like stressful situations and toggle between like dealing with somebody that just came in who like had their hand, like their finger cut off at a bandsaw because they were like working in their garage, and then going to like the maternity ward and like checking in with like another patient who is like expecting their child or what, like whatever it is. Like I can't imagine having like physical and emotional resilience without being like pretty active and fit. And so a lot of times there's like a lot of practical consequences for being fit, and there's also a lot of practical consequences for like not training and being fit, just like throughout every aspect of our lives.
It's funny you should say that. I think every running group run I ever went on, there was at least one, maybe three doctors
Yeah.
in the group consistently. So it's a very healthy and safe place to train him. And if you're worried about your health or fitness, like almost every group run I've ever been on has got multiple doctors in the run. So if anything does happen, you're sure to get the proper medical attention
Yeah,
required.
no, I had a friend was riding recently, and she unfortunately like took a fall and broke her arm just above her wrist, and there was an ortho on the ride with her
There you go.
to help.
Yeah, so like I guess like some of the odder things that I've done to stay motivated, because I don't have clearly the talent that Nate has to do the indoor trainer with just music for hours on end. I've had to put my favorite pastry on the spin bike to get through a 2 hour session. I just stared at it intensely the entire time, and I've watched movies and done all of those types of things. The indoor trainer in particular, I think, is tough for people to get motivated and get excited about. Just the focus on the pain and the lack of like cooling from the breeze when you're outside riding your bike make it really challenging. And then like bicycle riding, I really love, and I think most people that want to race and want to ride, they love riding a bike. In some ways, that's motivation enough. But to get up early and do it, I think that takes like a lot of mental focus. And I'll admit that like when I get up at 5 a.m. to do my rides, there are times where I just like stare at my cycling shoes and I do not feel like doing it. And I go and drink another coffee. But there's this moment where you just have to kind of push through and embrace the suck and just go for it and get out there and do it.
Yeah, and totally. And I feel like I really like that you're drawing attention to the early mornings, because we were talking about that before we started this recording the session. And I feel like a lot of people, especially when they're getting started or when they have a routine established and they're trying to take that routine to the next level, they focus on it's easy to have our attention hijacked by the discomfort that we're feeling at that moment. Whereas if you go into it knowing that like deciding that you're going to wake up at 5:30 to train before work a few days a week or every day during the week or whatever it is, like knowing that it's going to suck, but just kind of accepting that and being aware of it going in and just committing to doing like the first month or whatever it is, just get the ball rolling. And that degree of like psychological distress and the feeling of how much it sucks is going to diminish over time, and as it becomes more of a habit, and if you've like decided that that's what you're going to be doing, it still sucks, but it will suck much less, and your focus will be much less on the fact that you're waking up at 5:30 and it might be fun to sleep until 6:30, but it's going to be more focused on the fact that you feel good when you do it, and throughout the rest of the day you feel so much better than if you don't wake up and get some exercise in. So I feel like just knowing that like, if I decide all of a sudden that I want to go and get good at basketball, like I'm gonna really suck like doing free throws or like whatever else. But it's like if I just take 3 free throws and I'm like, I'm not good at this sucks, like I'm just gonna leave, like that's not gonna be productive. But with practice, like clearly we can get better. If you want to wake up and train in the morning, or, you know, cut out at lunch and go for like a half-hour ride or run before you eat and go back to work. Like, it's not going to feel amazing every second of every time that you do it, but as you do it more, it'll be a self-reinforcing habit and practice that becomes fun because you do it. And it's not because it, like, it can have a degree of fun that inspires you to do it, but it won't be fun all the time every day. But it will become less of something that, I don't know, you can't opt out of it if it's like a habit and something that you're committed to.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the sense of accomplishment when I do an early morning training session and I get done and then I go to work stays with me all throughout the day. And I find it hard to actually be in a bad mood when I know that I did like a 25-mile bike ride at 5:30 a.m. Like, who can look at that and say like you didn't achieve something of significance during your day?
Yeah, like you have the sense of accomplishment, and you just feel better physically. Like our bodies and brains are like designed to be active, and we feel better when we are. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, any final tips to help people stay motivated and get out there and train?
Um, I think just remember that when we care about something, we will often feel uncomfortable when we're like reaching for it, but that discomfort is just a part of the way that we're wired, and like our kind of dopamine reward system. Um, like I don't know, there's tension when we're pursuing things, but the pursuit of goals that we care about and things that we want to accomplish is worth enduring that momentary discomfort to be able to do the things that we want to be doing. So even though it feels uncomfortable, you can choose to embrace that discomfort because you know that if it feels uncomfortable, you're taking action on something that matters to you instead of uh, feeling comfortable and just like, I don't know, death scrolling through Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't have better advice. Like, just embrace the discomfort and like accept that like discomfort is a part of life and like it has value and it can be really great, right? Because being uncomfortable and like getting through this training is how you stay healthy and how you stay fit. Well, that's all for today. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back here next week. Take care. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.